I'm supporting small business by shopping at some of my local comic book shops. Stay tuned to see some of my recent pickups. Welcome back, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and in today's episode, we've got a good old-fashioned comic book haul. I've been shopping at a couple of my local comic book shops, and I've got a recent pickup from Whatnot as well. But before we begin, before I do the show and tell, definitely hit that like, slap the subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my episodes that I put out each and every week, Mondays and Fridays at 10 a.m. All right, guys, let's get into the haul. Alright, so the first comic book shop I want to spotlight today is Keep It Strange Comics and Collectibles down in Manassas, Virginia. Now, if you guys watched my last episode, you realize that this is the shop that I went to for the comic book swap meet that was held by DMV Comic Collectors, the Facebook group that's here local in Virginia, DC, and the Maryland area. And it was a great swap meet. I hope you guys get a chance to watch the previous episode to see how that went and to check out that store too. It's got some good comics. It's got a lot of great toys and other collectibles and just fun stuff. So I realized once I did that episode and I showed off the comic book swap meet and talked about it a little bit, I realized that I completely forgot that I did pick up something from the shop itself. It wasn't just me going to the swap meet, but I did purchase something from the store, and they had some nice keys on the wall, but I didn't end up getting any comics this time. Maybe the next trip when I'm down there, I'll stop in and spend more time with the comic books that they have instead of just, obviously, the comic book swap meet. But I did find something when I was looking around the store and doing some filming that kind of completes the collection. And let me show you right here what it is. It is the last action figure I need for the Watchmen series, for both series. I think I've got every one of these now, unless there's some alternates out there. But this is the original, the classic Silk Spectre, and I did not have this. This was the last one I needed, and I kind of given up hope on finding it at a reasonable price. This was probably a little bit more than I wanted to pay. I think they had a price of about $25. The fact is that I waited too long. I should have got these a long time ago. But I finally finished up by completing the set. I've got all the main characters, and I've got the alternate comedian one. There's two comedian ones out there. Now, I don't know if there's other variances for the other characters from the Watchmen, but I know the comedian has two different ones. One's an unmasked version, the other one is masked. But this pretty much completes what I was wanting to get on these. So I'm pretty happy to have this. I'm sorry for the glare there. I probably should just hold it still there. But that's what I picked up from Keep It Strange Comics. Now, the next time I go down to that area, I'll stop in and I'll spend some time in those comic book boxes. I did spend a little time just thumbing through a little bit and taking a look at the wall. There was definitely some books in there that was of interest, but because of the comic book swap meet, it was a little crowded around all the comic book boxes, so I didn't get a chance to go through those as much as I would like. So, promises I will make to them is I will stop there on one of my next trips through that area. So one of the other things that I ended up picking up while I was at Keep It Strange Comics for the swap meet was from DMV Comic Collectors, the group itself. They were giving out shirts, and as you can see, well, this is it's an extra large, but here is a t-shirt with their character that they developed to represent DMV Comic Collectors. I believe her name is Lucky Star, and if you turn the back or turn it around here in the back, you can see their logo right there. And guys, if you're ever interested in knowing more about this group, definitely check out the link in the description of the video below. They are going to be doing a club card, a members card that's going to be good at several of the local comic book shops in the area that will give you discounts when you go to that store. So that's one real good incentive for you to join this group. And they're really expanding their area too, because it's not just this Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC area. It's also expanding down as far as I know, down to Charlottesville and all the way out to Harrisonburg as well. So shops like Hello Comics and The Secret Lair are probably going to be included in this network of stores. I can't promise that. They do have a new website, but I don't have that in front of me right now, but you guys can probably check that out by going to their Facebook page and finding the link for that. But that was pretty cool. I picked up a couple of these shirts. One's going to be for my wife. I know she'll appreciate that. But that's what I picked up while I was at the comic book swap meet. Other than the comics and the trades the trade, the swaps themselves. That's what I ended up picking up. All right, so for the other LCS that I'm going to spotlight in today's episode, it's a shop that I go to frequently. You guys hear me talk about it all the time. It is Collector's Corner, located up in Parkville, Maryland. They do have another store in Bel Air, Maryland that I've never been to. I will have to make a trip up there to see what the difference is. But I ended up running up to this shop up in Parkville, Maryland. If you go in the Baltimore area, it's in the northern Baltimore area within the Beltway itself. And so I went up, I took a look around. For me, it's surprising. I actually went there when they weren't having a sale. They are always having sales, but they didn't have a sale on this particular day, but that's okay because they had a lot of new comics, a lot of new inventory that had been coming in recently. And this is one of those shops that's real good about advertising. When they get a collection in and they bag and board everything, they show it off. They'll show off these collections and tons of photos of things that are coming in. And the last few days has been particularly heavy with these new incoming books. And I decided to run up there and see what was in stock, what the prices were, and things like that. I got a chance to explore the store and realized that the store is even bigger than I first thought. There's a downstairs that I thought I'd heard about, but I never even knew how to get down to it. And when I was up there, I asked about it, and he said, okay, you got to go back into the other room, make a right, make a left, and make a turn. There's stairs. And so I ended up doing this. I went down, and they actually have another big room downstairs where they have a lot of trade paperbacks, mostly used, and books, but they also have magazines, and then they have dollar boxes all over the place. So I didn't spend a lot of time today when I was going through the shop, but I did thumb through a lot of the dollar books, and I did go through a lot of the new books that they've been getting in. And I've got a little pile right here. So let's go through what I picked up. Let's start with the dollar boxes. And granted, a lot of these were unbagged, unboarded, and I'm kind of thumbing through trying to be careful, but trust me, there was probably some minor keys in there, but it really was run filler type stuff. A lot of Valiant. There was a lot of Valiant down there. But let me just show you a few of the things I picked up without going through the boxes heavily. I just went through them lightly, and this is what I ended up picking out. I wanted to pick up a few things, and this is what I did. This is issue number 3 of The Comedian. This is the Before Watchmen. This is done by J.G. Jones. I don't remember if I actually had this, although I was a big fan of all the Before Watchmen books, but I don't remember if I finished the Comedian series, which is surprising for me because I'm a huge fan of J.G. Jones, and the Comedian is one of my all-time favorite characters. So I'd be surprised if I didn't actually finish this little mini-series. But I picked that up. They had a couple copies of this, and I picked up one copy of Geiger #1. This is the 3rd print. I don't know if this is glow in the dark or not, but this is the 3rd print by Jeff Johns, Gary Frank. And picked up an issue of, this is issue number 4 of Codename Danger. And this is issue number 4. Now, this is a book from back in the 80s, when mid-80s to late 80s. I'm pretty sure, my guess is it's probably 85 or 86. Let's see what it is. See if I can find it real quick. No, of course not. Yeah, I'm not finding the date. Oh, there we go. I was right, 1986. And I remember the first couple issues of this. I think Paul Smith did the art on at least one of them, and I really kind of like that concept of there was an organization that would choose different specialized, I don't want to say superheroes, but special individuals to go on missions depending on the type of mission it was. And I thought that was a neat little concept. In fact, I really want to say it was Paul Smith who did issue number 2, maybe. But I remember having the first couple issues, but I'd never seen issue number 4. So for $1, I didn't mind picking that up just as a reader. And I did pick this up. They did have some early Eclipse books. This is Crossfire number 4, Mark Evanier. And just a fun book. These are all fun pickups just for reading, basically. I wouldn't mind picking up more of these. I had read some of these. In fact, I've got the issue with the Dave Stevens cover and Marilyn Monroe of Crossfire. I've got that recently. That's probably the money book out of this whole series. But these were just fun dollar pickups. Nothing major right there. Oh, what am I forgetting? I forgot one more. I picked up 2 issues. This is issue number 6 as well. So, okay. All right. So those were the real cheapies. But then I'm going through the bins. I'm going through the existing stock, and I'm also going through their case, their showcase, and I'm going through the boxes that had a lot of the books that I talked about being on social media recently. They had just come in, and I ended up going through, and I ended up picking up a few things from all places, basically. Downstairs in the dollar bins, you just saw, I picked them up from the showcase, and I picked them up from some of the new boxes and some of the existing boxes. So in the existing boxes, I did pick up a copy of DN Agents #1, another Mark Evanier book from Eclipse Comics. This is issue number 1, and of course you've got Rainbow right there, who ends up having a relationship with Crossfire. Now this wasn't too expensive or anything, so even without the discounts that they usually run, I do have a collector's membership up the store, so I ended up getting a small discount on top of whatever I purchased here. So it wasn't too bad, and I didn't mind picking up a few things. I just wanted to see what they had in stock, and I wasn't sure about one of these. I didn't want to wait for a really good sale to miss out on some of these new books that had just come in. And here's one of those right there. This is the book, Supernatural Thrillers #2. This is a book that I had thought was originally one of the Marvel Masterpieces books, where they were doing sort of the classic literature books in a line of comics. I thought that this was one of those, but it's not. This is from Supernatural Thrillers, one of my favorite series as a kid, from 1973. I never had this issue, but I did have issue. I remember having issue number, I want to say issue number 6, or was it 5, that had that Headless Horseman illustration by Gil Kane. And absolutely love that. And then following those issues, we had a short run of The Living Mummy inside of Supernatural Thrillers, and those are actually some pretty good books. That first appearance, I think issue number 7 is actually in high grade, can be pretty valuable. But this is a book right here that I remember talking about this when I picked up the first issue of the Marvel Masterpieces series. And I thought, as I said, I thought that this was part of that line, and I was talking about it, and it was only afterwards I realized that it wasn't. It was part of this. But what's great about this is you've got this beautiful cover. It's a Jim Steranko cover, and absolutely gorgeous book. It's not perfect. I didn't buy this as an investment grade necessarily, but it is a really good condition, except for a little dog ear right up here in this corner. And it shows up real good because it's on that black strip right up there. But this is a really nice issue, and it's one of those that I just want to have in the PC. Sometimes we don't have to get books graded all the time, but I do look for high grade on certain books. Some books I want to just have in the PC, but I still want them high grade, so they'll still be worth something down the road. So that's why I picked that up. Now, the next book that I picked up, I hadn't seen on their social media, but I know it was one of the newer books that had come in. And this book has special significance for me. There were a bunch of books that I remember getting as a kid. And again, it's another book from 1973, just like the ones following this, started in 73, excuse me. I wasn't 6 years old yet. I was still 5 years old, and that's when comics right there were just exploding for me. Going to the drugstore with my mom every Saturday and picking up comics off the stand. And this one right here is one of the most significant comics for me. Just like the Captain America 165 was, this right here was Fantastic Four 134. These are the first comics that I ever had from Marvel Comics. My own comics. Not comics that I found from my grandparents' house, but my comics that I picked up. And we're not talking, and I should also clarify, we're not talking Richie Rich's, Little Dot, Casper, books like that. We're talking about mainstream Marvel and DC books, and it was mostly Marvel. This was my first Fantastic Four comic book. This was my introduction to the Fantastic Four. opening up that page and seeing Sue Storm and not understanding anything at this point. It was a great issue. You got Dragon Man in this, and not understanding why Reed and Sue were having marital problems and what was going on with her son. I had no idea, but this is where it began. This one and 135, I remember having both of those. They had both of those issues there, but this was a really nice copy. And I've seen this book go for a lot more. They had a $10 price tag on this. I've seen this book in lesser condition go for a lot more than that. I mean, in that $25, $35 range. And for years, I've been wanting to pick up a really good copy of this, but not at those prices. This is a run filler book for the most part. There's no key to this book, but for me, it's significant. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I love sharing some of these first comics with you guys. In fact, I may take an episode, I think I talked about that before. I was going to do an episode where I talk about some of the comic books that I found from my grandparents' house and what they mean to me, and pull those, maybe not the originals out, but pull out the copies, the better copies I've bought over the years. But I may also go through a series of what were my first comic books. We all have those stories. What was the first comic books in your collection? Well, I've been talking about that for the last few episodes, some of these first comic books. Well, this was my very first Fantastic Four, and this is in really nice shape, so I'm really happy about that. All right, so we've got one book left, and this is the one that I ended up getting out of the case. Now, it's not the first appearance, but the second appearance. In the case, they also had the first appearance of this character, but I didn't like the condition as much. But I like the condition on this one. And I figured, okay, let's go ahead and get this one. And down the road, we will get that other issue, that very first appearance. Let me show it to you. It's Spider-Man 125, the second appearance of Man-Wolf. And this is, if you know the history, this is J. Jonah Jameson's son, who has the Moonstone that transforms him into the Man-Wolf. And other than reading it in some of the Marvel Masterpieces editions, I've never had this issue. My first Spider-Man was 122, but I didn't have one, and in 123 with Luke Cage, but I never had 124 or 125. I had some of the issues right after that, and then I missed the Punisher completely in 129, and then from that point on, I started having just about every one of the Spider-Mans up until the mid-50s. That a good couple years there, 74, 75, where I was going just about every week to the drugstore, as I said, with my mom, and we'd pick up comics. But I never had the two issues with Man-Wolf. This was in really nice shape, so I was happy to get this. Again, this is another book from 1973. I'm still only 5 years old at this point. And come to think of it, I'm looking at this right here. Now, other than the dollar books that I picked up at the beginning, 3 of these 4 Mylar books, the more expensive books, 3 of these actually came from 1973. So that's kind of an interesting little quirk today. And again, all of these were ones that I got even before I was 6 years old. So pretty happy with this little haul today. But stay tuned. I've got one more haul left for you in today's episode. All right, so the very last thing I have for you today comes from Whatnot, not one of my local comic book shops. And I will say this, I've been really good for the last couple of months of not buying anything on Whatnot. And I have my reasons for that. One of them was not to spend money. 2, I wasn't happy with some of the conditions on the books that I was getting from some of the sellers. Even some of the ones that I really like, I just wasn't happy with it. There's a big difference between them showing you something on the camera, what a defect might be, than you actually going to that shop and seeing it in person, or going to a comic book show and seeing it in person. Well, every now and then I will pop back on, I will see what some of my favorite shows are selling, and I will stay there for a little bit. Sometimes these are shows that I've never bought from, these are shows that I have bought from, but I've got a list of ones that I follow all the time. Well, I happened back onto Nerdy Girl Comics, which I don't think I've ever actually bought anything, to be honest with you. But I stayed on there. I was on there for about 5 seconds. They were almost at the end of a giveaway and I literally went on, hit the button to enter the drawing. The drawing started 5 seconds later, and I ended up winning something. So for me, in this package right here is something that I don't even know what I won, because I don't even know if she showed what they were giving away. I never saw any of the giveaways that they were doing. So that's going to be a little bit of a surprise right here. But I ended up staying on the show a little bit, figuring, okay, I just won something. Let's stay. Let's see what she's got. I went through her store, and there were a couple books in there that I was interested in, and that's what I ended up bidding on. I ended up with 2 other comics that I ended up buying on here. It's going to be interesting because I think one of these is going to fall into the same category as we just talked about before, but we'll get, I'll circle back on that in a second. But let's go ahead and open this up. And as you can see, it's not even open yet. Some pretty packaging here, right? Let's open it up and let's see what we got. All right, so I'm back. I hope that was real quick. I'm just going to definitely speed up that camera work right there. But this was a pretty simple packaging. It has this beautiful box here. That's packaging. I haven't seen this quite. I don't know where this packaging comes from, but that's not your normal. It looks a little bit better than some of your normal packaging. But here we go. We've got the books. It's still taped a little bit, so let's throw all that down. And let's go through this. Oh, here we go. All right. I have no idea what the story, what the book is, but this was definitely the giveaway. It looks like a Peach Momoko cover. It's definitely a virgin copy of this. Why don't we just break it out and find out exactly what this is? And I'm going to have to re-bag and bore, so let's get rid of the tape on the bag. All right, turn this over. Oh, it's Edge of the Spider-Verse. This is a New York Comic Con 2022 exclusive. This is issue number 4, a variant cover put on from Comic Exposure. Here, I'll show it to you. You can see the back right there. And which character is that, guys? You let me know. I didn't really read this, so I don't know what this is. But this is definitely a... I'm pretty sure it's going to be a Peach Momoko cover. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'll have to look it up. If you guys know what this is, you can let me know in the comment section below. My first instinct, that was Peach Momoko, but I may be wrong on that. But let's take this back real carefully. I don't know if there's any value in that or not, but that was my giveaway. So, free is good. Sometimes I don't really stay on some of the bigger channels. You have hundreds of people who are watching that show. The chances of you winning something are pretty small. That's why I like some of my favorite shows that have a smaller audience. They obviously have a much better chance of winning. But in this case, I literally popped on that show for 5 seconds and won something. So I did feel a little bit obligated to stay and maybe buy something. And that's what I ended up doing. So we have a nice sticker here. Here's a Nerdy Girl sticker. All right. So the 2 books I ended up getting, and this looks in really nice shape. I will tell you this. If the conditions on these are as good as what she was talking about, then I think the value, I'd be honest, I don't even remember what I paid, but I do remember that I didn't pay a lot for this. And I think both of them are truly undervalued, or underpaid. I underpaid a lot for what this is. In fact, the second book that I'm going to show you, she definitely even said on her show, is I can't believe I just sold it for that. That's a lot less than what she had paid for it to begin with. But let me show you the first one. It is the Mighty Avengers Special number 5. All right, yeah, number 5. And it is got a reprint of the Spider-Man number 11. Is that the issue where you have Spider-Man meeting the Avengers? I can't remember, but I think technically it was a robot Spider-Man. But I also think that this is issues that reprints Avengers number 8. I'm not sure. I've never had this book. I have looked at it, though, over the last year or so about trying to pick it up. I'm a huge Avengers fan. At one point, the original series, I had nearly every issue. I was down to basically 4 to 5 issues, all in the first 10 issues that I needed. I needed issues 1, 2, 5, 7. Oh yeah, that was it. That's what I needed. And so it's less, so it's even better. But what I didn't have was all the annuals and things like that. So what I know that this is more of a reprint issue, not original stories, but I did want to get a good copy of this, and I've seen it. I actually looked at it at one of my LCSs at their big Thanksgiving sale, and I will tell you this. They had a book up there that was in a lot worse condition than this is, and this is actually really nice. I mean, I'm looking at the back. This is square bound, but you can see I've got a clear board in there as well. This is a really, really sharp. Could stand a little bit of a press, but no dog ears. This is a really, this is a really tight copy. I'll be interested in looking up some values on this if you can get it graded, because right now this looks really tight. I will tell you this, blows away my expectations. As I said earlier, one of the things that reason I've not been buying on Whatnot is because I haven't been happy with a lot of the conditions. You buy something, and even though they're saying, oh, it's the most fantastic book ever and flawless, oh, this is probably a 9.8 candidate and everything like that, depending on the book. This right here is better than what I think she described. So right now, I am super happy with that. All right, so here's the book that actually I bought on there. This was the second one I bought, but the first one I bought takes me back again to 1973. This may be 74. I'm not going to open it up here, but I'm pretty sure it's 73 as well. It is another early Captain America book. One of my childhood comics. I mean, that run from about issue 63, and the ones I've spotlighted on 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, and then you get to issue number 70. And this is the beginning of the Secret Empire storyline where Captain America is arrested, Moonstone, first appearance, the original Moonstone, and he's portrayed as a hero, but we later learn he's a villain working with the Secret Empire. And this absolute gorgeous John Romita Sr.'s cover right here, just absolutely just one of those early Sal Buscema books that I just absolutely love. And I bought this just to have it as an upgrade. Now, I've had the original. It's a reader copy. In the early 90s, when I moved to Baltimore and I started going to having local comic book shops, Jeppy's Comics definitely was a local shop. Steve Jeppy, big comic book guy, had stores throughout Baltimore. And I went to one of those shops and I picked up a lot of issues. And there were little comic book shows that I was picking up these copies just like this to get better copies of the books that I love. These were in the early 90s. Well, I'm telling you, this is even better copy than the one that I picked up back in the early 90s. I'll have to dig that out and we can do a comparison, but this is a super tight cover. It's got this really dark black up here and dark down here. No dog ears, sharp corners. And what I like here, now you guys take a quick look there down the spine. Now you see the way the cover is wrapped, the white from the back cover is definitely coming around on the front. And a lot of people don't like that for presentation-wise. They don't want to see that. But I will tell you, I kind of like that, especially in older books. As long as it's straight and not too much, it really, to me, helps benefit avoiding color breaks because there is no color. It's just white. Now you may still have a tick, but at least you're not going to see that color break if it's there. So it helps hide those defects a little bit. So that's a really tight copy. I wonder what the values on that are. If I get a chance when I do the editing on this, and if I have some values on this, I may stick them up on the screen. That way you guys can get some prices and some ideas on this. But I wasn't making the show about the comic book prices or speculating on all this, but the condition on both of these blew me away. And now I guess I'm going to have to watch Nerdy Girl comics on Whatnot a little bit more often because these are tight books and really good prices. So maybe waiting around to jump back into Whatnot after a couple months has been worth my while on this one. But that's it, guys. That's everything for today. That's the big giant haul for the most recent comics I picked up from Whatnot. and from a couple of my local comic book shops. I hope you guys will give both of the comic book shops a shot. Let It Be Comics in Manassas, Virginia. Collector's Corner up in Parkville, Maryland, and Bel Air, Maryland. Guys, give them a shot. I'll leave some links down below so you can get more information on both of those stores. Nerdy Girl Comics, you can look up on Whatnot. She's a big YouTuber, big following, big Whatnot following, so I don't need to promote her at all. So that's it. Thank you for joining me today. If you guys are ever interested in anything you see on the channel, just reach out to me at collectorauctions@yahoo.com or DM me on my Instagram account. You can also check out what I currently have for sale in my eBay store or on my Shortbox page by checking out the links in the description in today's video down below. But that's it, guys. I'm out of here. You have a great day, and I will see you for the next episode. Just remember, every comic has a story.